Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The 39-year-old Luis Ortiz, he's looking to bounce back with a win when he takes on Razvan Cojanu on the Mikey Garcia and Robert Easter Jr. undercard. It's the co-main event, or the co-feature. The Cuban southpaw, he took his first professional loss at the hands of a WBC champion Deontay Wilder in March. And that was a fight in which he came close to knocking Wilder out in the 7th round, before eventually being knocked out himself in the 10th. He eventually just gassed out and Wilder took advantage. So the man Ortiz is coming up against is 16-3 Romanian Razvan Cojanu, who himself is coming off a May 2017 title challenge loss to the then WBO champion Joseph Parker, and that fight was in New Zealand. It was Parker's first title defence, and that came at short notice when Hughie Fury pulled out of what was to be a mandatory defence at short notice. So I'll get to some of the quotes from Ortiz from an interview he's done with PBC, and then to some comments Cojanu has made at the press conference, and some thoughts on the fight overall, because this could end up being a little bit of an ugly fight if Cojanu decides to play spoiler. And then towards the end of the video, I'll jump to some comments that Ortiz has made about his failed title shot, and that he thinks Anthony Joshua is a punk. That's right, thinks he's a punk. So, on fighting Cojanu, Ortiz told PBC, "Cojanu is 100% going to pay for the anguish I've been feeling over the loss to Wilder, so the plan is to seek and destroy, doing damage behind intelligent boxing and taking as little punishment as possible. He's 6'7", which seems to be the standard among many heavyweights right now, but I will definitely end the fight with another knockout." Okay, so I'll jump to the press conference now to some of the comments that both fighters have made on how they see it playing out. And this footage is from Razvan Cojanu's social media. Someone close to him has taken the footage on a phone, but because it is so shaky and it's actually sideways, what I'll do is I'll run the audio from it under some photos, under some footage, so then we all don't get motion sickness, because it is sort of jerking around a bit there. And also, I'll just play Ortiz's translated comments. Otherwise, if you don't understand what Ortiz is saying, it's going to be a long wait between drinks, between the questions and the answers. Okay, so we'll crack into it.
And Razvan Cojanu. And Razvan, we'll start with you, because you're coming off a year layoff. The Ortiz team believes you've got some issues when it comes to fighting lefties. Will any of that be a factor Saturday night?
Hello everyone. You asked me if a southpaw can put me a problem. You talk about probably the fight against Donovan Dennis, right? For that fight, if you remember, I was fighting in a tournament. And in the first fight, I was cut above my right eye. After the fight, I had 1 month to train. I didn't was healed properly to can spar. I had 0 sparring for that fight, and I think that was the main thing, the problem for the fight against Donovan Dennis. But now I am really ready. When we got this call for this fight, I was already in shape, and we had to just make the adjustment for the southpaw. We brought the sparring partners, and we had 3 full weeks full of fun. I'm ready for Saturday night. Thank you.
Razvan, was there anything you saw in the Deontay Wilder fight that Luis Ortiz had that you said, you know what, I can capitalize on that and become victorious as well?
Yeah, that was a great fight. First of all, I want to congratulate Ortiz for that fight. That was an amazing performance. And yeah, I saw plenty of stuff. Special, the main thing with is working with Ortiz is the sharp point too.
Luis, this will be your first fight since that loss to Deontay Wilder. Do you believe a victory puts you right back in line for a world title shot again in a rematch with Deontay Wilder?
He says, thank you very much for everyone here, and he's happy to be here. Without a doubt, 100% victory on Saturday will put him back in line. He doesn't feel that he should have be bumped anywhere but in the top 5 as a heavyweight. The only thing he knows how to do is fight, and that's what he's coming to do Saturday night. And he's 100%, dedicated to his craft. As far as the Wilder fight, he feels that he would have preferred that he left on a stretcher or been brutally knocked out. As some people are saying that it happened. He obviously wasn't. It was a TKO stoppage on, just he couldn't go any further, but he would have preferred it the other way because he's a fighter, and that's what he wants. And he's happy to be here. He thanks everyone, and looking forward for Saturday night.
Luis, Razvan believes that he saw some things that you were vulnerable, and he looks to exploit those on Saturday. What should we expect from King Kong then on Saturday?
He says if that's what he believes, and that's on him. But in his frame of mind, there's only one plate of food on the table, and Razvan's coming to take it. And when there's 2 hungry guys, the hungry guy is gonna eat. So we'll see Saturday night.
Okay, so some thoughts. First off, just judging by the way that Cojanu is looking, it does appear that he's trimmed down some from the 274 pounds that he weighed when he took on Joseph Parker. But he did take that fight, it must be noted, at short notice when Hughie Fury injured his back and pulled out. I think it was at 12 days notice, something like that. It was, a couple of weeks or so. But being in better shape is clearly going to work in his favour, because I'm sure he saw that the older Ortiz gassed out against Deontay Wilder. Ortiz, who's 39, Cojanu is 31. He might want to try push him into some deep water, see how that goes for him. But it doesn't necessarily mean that Ortiz is going to gas in this fight, because after all, can Razvan Cojanu hurt Ortiz? Can he wear him out? Can he break him down? Can he do enough to tire him out? I'm not so sure. I see Ortiz, like most people do, as the heavy favourite in this fight, and it's likely that he's going to be the ring general. He's going to control the fight, including the pace that it's fought at. So there's an argument to say that if Ortiz can control it like that, he can moderate his energy reserves, and that's going to be important. But in the same breath, I don't think it's going to be as easy as Ortiz turning up, stepping through the ropes, and then blasting Cojanu out in a round. We saw against Parker that Cojanu, who's a seasoned sparring partner, and he'd sparred Parker more than 100 rounds, he can play spoiler. He can survive, put the high guard up, and make a fight ugly. And in that fight with Parker, he didn't really let his hands go to any great extent until the 10th round, when he did sense that Parker was starting to tire, and he sort of let his hands go for basically that round. But after that, Parker, he just sort of saw the fight out. But Cojanu, he fought in a really negative fashion overall until that point, until the 10th round. He was unable to land anything of note on Parker. And I could see him employing similar tactics to that fight in this one, looking to avoid unnecessary engagement with the high guard up, essentially letting Ortiz doing the majority of the work while he looks to stay out of harm's way. So in a sense, Ortiz, he's looking for a KO like Parker said he was when he fought Cojanu. He could end up looking a little off the boil because could be facing an opponent who will look to be quite negative in there. And if Ortiz grinds out a points win and he doesn't look fantastic, then the knives could be out from some fans. Some are already saying that he's too old, and a performance like that would just confirm that for them. And I wouldn't think it would, against someone like Cojanu, who has actually proven that he can play spoiler, it wouldn't necessarily be a fair comment to say that he was completely spent if he did struggle against Cojanu. Because if the other guy doesn't fight, and Dillian Whyte found this out against Robert Helenius, it can actually be quite hard to look good. And judging by that last performance, Cojanu, he may well again try to frustrate his opponent Ortiz with negative tactics and just try to take his chances late on, see how it goes. But I'm still picking Ortiz, either by points or decision, but I wouldn't be shocked if it does go to points. Although you'd hope in this instance that he would get a KO. But say he does come in, beat the brakes off Cojanu, then obviously some people are going to be then looking at Joseph Parker and going, well, why couldn't this guy have done better against Cojanu? Unfortunately, comparisons unavoidable in boxing, regardless of whether they're fair or not, because every fight is different, every opponent is different, triangle theories don't always work, but it's hard to resist looking at, those sorts of comparisons. But we'll leave that there. I think Ortiz, he is going to win this fight. That's, the headline result I'm going for. He's going to win. He's going to move on. He's probably going to get another final eliminator. Well, for the second mandatory, he'll be one of the two that'll have a fight for that position because he's already been promised another shot. Well, at the second mandatory, that is. The second mandatory that we'd never heard of before. It was offered to him and Dillian Whyte. Anyway, moving on. So, to Ortiz's failed title shot, Ortiz says, I've seen the fight more than a dozen times and can tell you minute by minute, second by second, what all of my mistakes were and what went wrong. The fight is still a knife in my heart. I'm so disgusted with it and I want a rematch to show everyone what I would do differently. I believe that a rematch is merited, especially if Wilder doesn't get the Anthony Joshua fight. I'm the only fighter who has hurt Wilder and nearly had him out. There are a combination of things I would do differently. Among them is to completely isolate myself, train harder and focus more. And on round 7, where he did hurt Wilder, almost got him out of there, the Cuban southpaw says, round 7 was definitely an emotional round. My biggest mistake was that once I hurt him with the shot, I was already visualizing myself as the WBC heavyweight champion of the world and as the undisputed champion after knocking out Anthony Joshua. Rookie mistakes. All of that flashed before my eyes and then obviously punched myself out. But even as I was punching, there were some things that I would have done differently with my shot selection. Slowing my punches down, shortening them up, being more precise and not so much throwing the flurry of punches I was using. And on whether Wilder was controversially given extra time to recover heading into round 8, the 39-year-old says, it was absolutely an advantage for Wilder, but also for me as well, because that allowed me time to recover and to rejuvenate after having expended so much energy for the knockout in the 7th. So if it was good for the goose, then it was good for the gander. And I've never mentioned, nor will I, that the referee gave Wilder a break at that point. And Luis Ortiz, he claims that he wasn't knocked out in the 10th round, or he doesn't believe he was really knocked out, saying Wilder did not knock me out, even though he hit me with his best shots. I wasn't unconscious, they didn't take me out on a stretcher. It's not my mentality to be rescued or saved in that way. It was purely a fatigue stoppage. I couldn't continue because I was dead tired, so I'm not satisfied. I would rather see Wilder knock my block off and have me knocked out cold. The better man did not win that night in the sense that I got tired. With a rematch opportunity, I can improve conditioning and tweak certain things here and there, and Wilder will not stand a chance. I could be 50 and still beat these guys. They ain't better than me. If my age is such a big deal, why isn't Joshua calling me out? Why isn't Wilder giving me an immediate rematch? Why are all of these punks running from me? Obviously, they don't want to fight, and they're all scared of me. And how does a fight between him and Anthony Joshua go? So Ortiz says, I haven't thought about Joshua since he avoided me a while back, but it's a fight where you would see me enjoy beating the piss out of him for several rounds. I see myself breaking down Joshua to the body and ripping his head off with right hooks and straight lefts over the course of 8 rounds. But at least Wilder put his money where his mouth is, stepped up and fought me. I've got zero respect for Joshua, who at this point is a complete punk hiding behind his puppeteer promoter. What do you make of it all? Luis Ortiz on his failed title challenge, on facing Razvan Cojanu, and his lack of respect for Anthony Joshua, going after him, calling Anthony Joshua a punk. Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.